This group, maybe these ladies here, one big group there, three up there, maybe you could come down. Sorry, yes, it's a workshop, you can't sit. One, two, three, four, five. Maybe we could have 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be good. Okay, could we hear from some of this group? Could we have... reading a competition or not. The group over there said that this wouldn't work with them because it would be people in...
Okay, hello. We thought not so much a competition, but prizes for achievement, minimum achievement. So if they meet a minimum standard of 30,000 words, they get a prize. Effort, motivation. So not really a competition, but being awarded for achieving their goals, meeting minimum standards, something like that. It's not really a competition as such. So.
The reading guide is very powerful and effective. They're using it all across the French school system. It's a grassroots movement from teachers. Very effective.
Oh, okay.
Words. You said the number of words as opposed to books.
Yeah.
Okay. So first semester.
Would you...
Yes.
You would say you should be reading this.
Yeah, whether they do or not, that's a different story, right? But so, you know, our goal is here, a minimum is here, and
within the range. What about set up with the library? Would you do that on
well, the library,
like just do it in the classroom?
the library only really deals with housing the textbooks. They don't deal with online stuff or anything else. So we just show them where the books are. You know, the library knows. We tell students where to get the books. They are allowed to check out more than one at a time. They actually have to return a book before they can get another one. Because we've had problems that some students take out a book and they give it to a friend. The friend returns it. Well, they're not supposed to do that. So it takes some time to learn that system. But we use not the M-reader yet, but the older Moodle reader, and it's set at 12 hours. They can only take one quiz every 12 hours. And when at the upper levels, then it's 24 hours, so that they're not cramming at the end or something like that. So we want to be able to read it all the time, not just towards the end of the semester to try to get the words.
So they're still reading. are reading.
They're reading, and each, and they all have a level, right? So they can all read at their level. If they want to increase their level, they have to go to the teacher.
Now, within our system, they're free to choose any book they want. And go when they want also. They can take as many books from the library.
Yes, we're a little more strict. Yes.
We thought so. We thought, and that's what people say, isn't that? What our teachers say. The same book we different.
Okay. Does another group want to share? Maybe over this way? Before these people go to sleep over here on this side?
Here we go. I saw someone looking at me at the side. We're ready to share your answer.
Yeah, over the student who's kind of speaking on his phone and call his name.
I wasn't about to fall asleep, just so you know. Well, actually, part of mine was a question about the competition in terms of books. Is there a scoring system so that students who are reading easier books, if they read a whole bunch of easy books compared to students who are reading longer books, is there any differentiation? I'm just curious as to how you go about that. It is the number of words. You are using that. Okay.
So we also, to motivate the students, we told those who are at the higher level, okay, you don't have to read these difficult books, but it's demotivating to, get a book that's like, oh, it's very difficult, makes it so thick, but actually it isn't. So we said, well, okay, just read like 10 level 1 books, and then that's fine. It doesn't matter what level you are and what level you read in, as long as you read it. That was our point in all this, to get them reading so they could discover that it was beneficial for them, that they saw the vocabulary, the grammar. So yeah, that was it. They could use that strategy, just read on level 1.
All right. So yeah, we don't have the M-reader and just for calculated words because of the different varieties of books, and a lot of books, well, separating out for books that have lots of illustrations, so the students remembering to subtract out those pages. I think it becomes a cumbersome mathematical equation to figure out how many words are in those books. More recently, they have the books that have the word counts on the back and things like that are really helpful. But otherwise, we just went with we're not using Moodle Reader, we're not using M-Reader, we're just having students, because we didn't want to have them limited to what was available on a particular, that book's not in the Moodle Reader, or that's not in an M-Reader. So any book at all, and it's just on time. So we do what we just call it a reading marathon, and we do that outside of class over during summer vacation and winter vacation. They make their own goals and have them keep that, but I haven't been giving prizes. So with the recognition part, I do
that you want to make it better.
I think that I think it works, but I think that the recognition for people who excel would be a nice thing to add.
The symbolic recognition of a certificate is very powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm wondering if they are just doing the reading cramming at the end of the break. That's the thing that we've been thinking about. Right? Yeah, because we're teaching together. So yeah. So that's leaderboard, or produce a document weekly that shows who's reading and who's not.
Yeah, leaderboard works during school. I'm talking about. We also do it during the break. So there is no. It's just them on Goodreads posting on the website, sharing what they read, but there's no.
So where do you teach?
We go to University of Foreign Studies in Japan.
So teachers like to be in control even in the holidays in Japan.
It's not really control, because we tell them do what it's a marathon. You do what you choose how many you want to go for. So if that's control, I guess it's encouragement to read over the break. I don't know how that.
The world would be that sustained, self-selected, voluntary reading over the summer, right? I mean that we would like our students to read books over the summer, like pack their books in their suitcase that they're going to take on holiday to read. That's an ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, and so hopefully that's encouraging to do that.
Thank you. Shall I move over here? Yes. You talked to me earlier, so if you don't make eye contact. Did you share what you do? Would this work? What would work? What wouldn't work?
Well, I mean, it sounds great. I guess the main issue that I have, and I would guess a lot of other people have, most people have, is just the motivation. And even with, I haven't tried using the leaderboards or the prizes. I think that would be great. But we were talking about how even students now, they hardly read in their native language, let alone in, the second language. Yeah, so I guess that's the main problem, is how to,
I've been working in the UAE for 12 years, and before that I was in Saudi for 12 years, and I started believing in graded readers, I think in Saudi, because I had the same class for 25 hours a week, so the last period I photocopied and we all read the same graded reader the last 30, 40 minutes of class. But when I came to the UAE, if you can imagine, their reading challenges are even greater than the Saudis. Saudis are more literate in Arabic. Okay, and I was reading graded readers with my students in class. They weren't motivated. I tried many different things. I tried scaffolding them to sustain silent reading after reading graded readers together. It was just for pleasure. I never started, do a PowerPoint on your favorite character, okay? But I know that our students love in-class competitions. They're very competitive in class. We do games for grammar, games for vocab. And until Helen came and brought the scholastic reading program that she knew about and invited me to participate in the pilot, and I don't know, out of thin air she said, let's make it a competition. And that made all the difference in the world. That was very, very motivating for the students. And some of them, the penny dropped, they realized their English was getting better, and they started reading more and more on their own. And that's better than zero, because that's what we had before. Yes?
Have you noticed a difference between males and females in their attitude to this?
I've taught females for 6 years, but I never did a reading competition with the females, okay? But I will say this, there's now we're going to do our reading challenge across the foundation's programs, but it's still only male, but the Petroleum Institute, which is another large English language medium university provider, is going to adopt our program and pilot it there, and they have male and female, so it's definitely a direction to check on. But from my experience teaching female and Emiratis, they are as competitive in the classroom when we play grammar or vocabulary games as males. Very competitive, but it's a cooperative group sort of competitiveness. It's not like an individualism sort of competitiveness. Yeah?
Scholastic Reading Camps. That's the name of the program. Scholastic Reading Camps, or SRC. There's lots of information on the internet. Yeah.
We don't use scholastic reading camps. We'll cover more details about that in another presentation, but it's an American program for English language learners. So a lot of the books are, the father of my country, George Washington, and that's not appropriate for our readers. They do have some books, like the Geography of Europe, or something like that, but a lot of the books are very American-oriented. So I personally would recommend mReader, because it's especially for graded readers for English language learners, language learner literature. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend using that one. It's free. Teachers had difficulty learning how to use it, but not students.
We thought they would, compared to Scholastic Reading Camps. Scholastic's more student-friendly, and we thought, our students won't be able to, navigate around it, but they did. So we've changed. Moving on, yes.
Activity, our next thing to finish. But again, before she shows us, or did you put the title? We want you to just talk together. We'll just give you 1 or 2 minutes. What do you personally, individually do as a teacher to encourage your students to read? So if you talk and share that, at the end we will show you what we found from our research. The students said encourage them to read. Okay, so let's see if you're on the right track. So share together, what do you personally do, besides making them read all day?
In a controlled manner. Some people already mentioned what they did, but if we just have a quick discussion. We'll finish now. You want to share something?
It's not enjoyable. It's not easy.
Okay, could we get some ideas about what you do in the classroom? I'll go somewhere else. Ricky, what do you do?
We're both tired. I teach in the second. Yeah, I teach in the UAE also. I've been there just 3 years. This is my 4th year. I've been teaching the women there also, but I had a different experience than Melanie with the women. I had a hard time with them wanting to compete because they wanted their friend to be okay, and if they stood out as better than somebody, that was almost a negative for them in our area. We're in a different area than Abu Dhabi. It's much more advanced. Ours is a older town, still much more local type of environment. Yeah.
But our competition was by groups too, so that's the collective mentality. They wanted their team to win.
Oh, okay.
We had like two levels of prizes. We had prizes in class for the top, second, and third reader, and there was some, alpha male competition going on there. But we also competed. Every class in the same level competed against the other class because our students are cooperative learners. It's a very cooperative society.
Yeah.
And this is where we saw the real strength in it because the class wanted to beat another class.
Okay, but what happened in my class was they became very competitive. Individually, they became competitive. With Moodle Reader, they were, oh, did you see my score? Did you see how many words I got? And all this stuff. And
why is that bad?
It's not bad at all. It's awesome. It was so exciting to see that change in them from just sitting back and going, oh, well, I'll let her do the work, and that's okay, to I want to do it, and getting that intrinsic motivation there. And I really enjoyed that. We also do competition between classes, and this week was our first week of school. And so I've been watching. I have 3 classes. I teach repeaters. And so there's 3 sections in the repeaters class. And I teach it with another teacher. She does the writing and I do the reading. And so I pick the one class that I think is the most motivated, and they're going to set up the challenge to the other 2 classes. So it's going to come from whatever they decide will be the challenge and the length of time. And we'll see how that works this semester. I've not done that part of it before. We've had competition between classes, but not so much as student-run competitions. So we'll see. Yeah, and we use Moodle Reader. But we don't have the wonderful library cooperation with that. No. We have lots of books in the library, tons of books, and the kids can check out. I require them to have 3 books all the time on them. In case they finish a book, they've got another one, or in case they pick 3 books and they don't like one. And so they always have a book with them to pick up and read.
You don't do it in conjunction with any other teachers? You just do it on your own?
Well, it depends. Every semester it's been different. Last semester we had 5 teachers together, but this semester we have a smaller group of repeaters. And it hasn't gotten ignited with the other teachers yet.
Speaking of motivation, I think this is where teachers can play a very important role and be creative. And just like in your setting, competition worked. And I think it still has to be very contextualized. Some would work, but in some settings it might not. So what you have to see, look at your own students and teachers' ability and all these other contexts as well. And for me, I teach at Hawaii, and I know that my students will love cartoons because I've been using this Garfield, incorporating in my classroom. And then what I haven't really, I just had this in my mind when I was flying to Korea. I was thinking of, there's an application where you can take a photo and everything becomes cartoonized, like manga-like. So like I can have students take make their own cartoons and bring it into classroom and then share it as a class. And then you might be you might want the students to vote and then choose the best one you like. And like I think like it has to be very contextualized. That's my I think so. I haven't really tried it yet, but
that's why we say, you should stay with the students throughout the program,
exactly.
Because their motivational levels and things will change, and you can learn from them and then work with them and keep them motivated all the time.
Right.
Yeah, so you're learning from them.
Right. And not only just with the writing, you do with content, but it can really relate to graded readers per se, like how after they finish the reading, they can come up with this cartoon script saying whether I liked it or not. You can have like two people talking about, hey, did you like the reading? And blah, 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 blah. And you can just put it on the back of the book. And when the other students decide which books they want to read, they can just look at this cartoon and, and you can use that for decision, something like that. So I think this, right, so it's a teacher's role here to be very creative and
Any other comments from anyone? Yes. I'm at a women's university in Japan, and I think it's really important to have a lot of high interest material and several copies of them, because our students tend to they'll say this is what they want. If they get into extensive reading, they'll say this is the type of material we want, and we try to accommodate those requests. But there aren't enough materials, I guess. I know that there are a lot of books out there now, and they're producing a lot of books, but even so, students want things at a certain level and high interest. I think that's...
This is something I'm addressing in the feature talk. You see the book that you have, the book that you got, were you interested in that story or not? You all read the first story. What was it? Antar about the lion? But this story was written by an Emirati writer, the most famous Emirati writer, and he studied at Syracuse University, and he wrote and published these short stories in the Arabic newspapers in the 1990s. And for our students, it's very motivating for them to read a story from their own society by an Emirati writer. So, I mean, there are some great graded readers out there. Don't get me wrong. I have my own favorites, The Elephant Man, great story. Health and Why, great story. New great stories are coming out all the time. A good story is a good story. Yeah, students, we need to listen to the students. And our students said from our research, they wanted to read more stories in English that happened in the Gulf. They wanted to read about themselves.
Just a question. I'm not familiar with every. For students who don't like the book, they've read half of it. Is there a possibility of getting any credit at all for reading half the book?
They could pass. And M-Reader it might be difficult because they have to put things in order for the last question, put the 5 events in order for the last question, and it could be difficult. But I would recommend, going the other route of writing your own quizzes for your books, if you have books that you recommend and stuff like that, going more towards a reading rally.
I was just saying the reader identity with having the choice of stopping to read a book. And if it's a rally and they didn't read the whole book, they don't get credit for spending an hour on the first half.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever encourage my students to read half a book and then put it down. I'd encourage them to put it down sooner than that if they didn't like it. But, this recommending books for students, I don't know if M-Reader has the capability to say, I like the book, I would recommend it. Yeah. the graded reader publishers to send me an inspection copy of, and then if there's funding, I ask the library to buy the class set, is of course the Language Learner Literature Awards. Because any book on that is sure to be a good book. Yeah?
Which will be announced tomorrow at the opening ceremony.
And then you find authors that you like also. Tim Vickery, my students like everything he writes. He writes for OUP. Every book they always like it. Language learner literature, it's a field. Yeah, it's a growing field. Okay, let's see what our students said.
Yeah. In our survey, we gave to the students at the end of our reading challenge. This is the feedback they gave us. They said they wanted the teachers to show an interest in what they were reading by asking informal questions. They wanted the teacher to listen to individual students read aloud, one-on-one from time to time. And these are our male Emirati students 18 to 30 years old. Take the students to the library regularly or give them time to read in class. They wanted that. We didn't tell them any of this. It's what we were doing, of course, but we didn't say this is good for you.
Yeah, we did a survey and then we did a focus group with the students, and one of the questions was, how does your teacher, I don't think we used encourage. I think we said, how does your teacher encourage you to read? We didn't use the word motivate. And it was translated in Arabic and English. Yeah? And they give answers in Arabic and English.
Yep. They also liked it when the teacher explained vocabulary.
So, like, I don't know.
That was the top answer.
Yeah, if you do graded readers with your students, I mean, my reaction when I first started teaching and the students said, what does X mean? I'd say, where's your dictionary? Okay? I only realized later, as I grew as a teacher, what a horrible response this actually was. Okay? Because when my mom read to me when I was a little girl and I said, what does that mean? My mom just told me. So if the student says to you, what does virtual mean? I've seen that word 5 times on the past 2 pages. What does it mean? If you say, well, use your dictionary or Google Translate, it's not very nice. Okay? When we're learning how to read and being scaffolded into reading, so you should explain the word. And that was the top answer when we asked the students, how does the teacher encourage you to read? And they said, she tells me the answer. She tells me vocabulary.
That was the top answer. It was encouraging for the students to see the teacher reading as well. I think we all know that. And they also enjoyed it when we took photos of the students reading and we put them on, we shared them on Facebook, Twitter and Edmodo. We use Edmodo a lot. And even they were sharing pictures too.
And not pose pictures, they were in flow.
Yes, they were all there in flow reading. We haven't got the nice picture on this presentation.
Well,
that's on the next one, the other presentation.
So look for Gobert and Demirci on the program, and then you can see more.
Yeah, that's why we didn't go into too many details here. Okay, so, there we go. We talked about 4 ideas for encouraging or motivating students to read: the timed weekly readings, the reading rally, our reading challenge, and showing that you care. That's the last thing we want to say. And if you want to contact us, there we are. Thank you very much for attending. You've been a great audience.